Hello students. In previous class we learned about the chemical shift and factors affecting the chemical shift. Today we will discuss spin-spin coupling, coupling constant. We will also discuss some spectras and we will check that how much signals are appearing for different type of compounds, and also we will discuss some important applications of NMR spectroscopy. Spin-spin coupling, or it is also known as splitting of the signal. So the source of signal splitting is a phenomena called spin-spin coupling, a term that describes the magnetic interaction between neighboring non-equivalent NMR active nuclei. So non-equivalent NMR active nuclei, that means if there are two hydrogens in a structure and both hydrogens are not having same type of environment, like if we are taking example of 1,1,2 trichloromethane. Here the structure of 1,1,2 trichloromethane is given. You can see that the two different type of hydrogens are marked here. This is on the basis of the different environment of the hydrogen. Like the HA hydrogen, which is shown by the red color, both are having same environment because both are attached to a carbon which is further attached to chlorine and another carbon. So both are having same environment and these two will give a single signal, whereas the hydrogen which is shown by the blue color, this is having a slightly different environment because it is attached with a carbon which is further attached to two chlorines and one carbon. So obviously the HB is having different environment as compared to the HA because the electronegative group number is different. In case of HA, the HA is attached with a carbon which is attached with only one electronegative group and other carbon, whereas in case of HB, it is attached with a carbon which is further attached with a two electronegative group, chlorine. So obviously the removal of electrons from HB site and HA site is different, and these two will give different signals. Now if we are talking about the influence of these two on each other, that is known as the spin-spin coupling. These two are neighboring hydrogens and these two show the phenomena of spin-spin coupling. In that case, the splitting of the signal takes place. Like here, if we are talking about HA, its signal will be splitted in the two parts because the neighboring hydrogen is only one. If we are talking about the HB, in case of HB, it will give a triplet. That means the signal is splitted into the three because the neighboring site is having two number of hydrogens. Here the HB in this structure, check it carefully. HB is having two neighboring HA. So the signal of HB will be splitted into three. Similarly, HA is having one neighboring hydrogen HA. So the signal of HA will be splitted into two. Now N is equals to 0. This is a Pascal triangle and the splitting takes on the basis of Pascal triangle. Also, the intensity of signal is also determined by it. Like if N is equals to 0, N shows the number of hydrogen. If the neighboring number of hydrogen is 0, that means if there is no hydrogen on neighboring carbon, in that case there is no splitting takes place. But if N is equals to 1, that means neighboring carbon is having one hydrogen. In that case, splitting occurs and splitted into two signals. Clear? Both having 1:1 ratio, that means the intensity of signals will be same, as you can see in case of HA. Here HA is having one neighboring hydrogen and the signal is splitted into two parts and both part is having same height because both are having same intensity. In third case, if the neighboring hydrogen number is 2, in that case the splitting takes place into a triplet. A triplet is formed in the ratio of 1:2:1. That means the two signals are having slightly lower intensity as compared to the one. So the middle one is having more intensity and other two are having less intensity. Similarly, in case of if neighboring number of hydrogen is 3, in that case splitting occurs and a 4 signal splitting occurs. In that case the intensity is in ratio of 1:3:3:1 and so on. It always depends upon the number of neighboring hydrogen, and this splitting can be easily explained by the Pascal triangle, and also the intensity of the splitted signal can be given by the Pascal triangle. So this is the spin-spin coupling. That means the neighboring hydrogen also have influence on the signal, and if there is some hydrogen present on the neighboring group, in that case splitting occurs. In this slide we will discuss some NMR spectra, and with the help of these NMR spectra, the theories which we discussed for the chemical shift and also for the spin-spin coupling will be more clear. First example is of CH3CH2Br. Here you can see that there is two main signals, one between 1 and 2 and the another one between 3 and 4. This one is the first one and this one is the second one. Here you can see that this one is for TMS. The first one is always for the TMS. Then what happened in case of CH2 and CH3? Both are having different environment because this CH2, the two hydrogen attached with the carbon and the carbon is further attached with the Br. So obviously these two hydrogen, the first two hydrogen in CH2, they will feel more inductive effect. That means the electrons are more shifted towards the bromine. So the B signal appear at the higher delta value because it is de-shielded. So it appears at higher delta value as compared to the signal for A type of hydrogens. So in any NMR signal, first you have to find different type of hydrogens on the basis of their environment and then write A and B and C and D and so on those hydrogens. After that you will find that which hydrogen site is more shielded or de-shielded. So here the CH2Br, in that case CH2 is more shielded and it is having a higher delta value. CH3 is less shielded, so it is having a lower delta value. After that, if we are talking about the splitting, the CH3, which is the signal for A, is having two neighboring hydrogen, so it is shifted into a triplet, splitted into a triplet. Whereas in case of CH2, it is having three neighboring hydrogen, so it is splitted into the quadrate. Like this, always we can see that which one is splitted, which one is not splitted, which one is shielded, which one is not shielded. If splitting occurs, how many number of splitted pattern will appear. Next example is CH2CHBr2. Here there are also two different environments for the hydrogen. The first is CH2, it is like A. The second one is CH, like B, signal B. Obviously, this CHBr, in case of this space, the carbon is attached with 2-bromine, more inductive effect as compared to the first spectra. So the signal will shifted more left because it is more de-shielded, and the value become around 6. Here it is between 3 to 4, but due to presence of one more bromine, it is shifted up to 6. Then in case of CH2, it is having slightly less de-shielding, so it is from 2 to 3, but it is slightly higher as compared to the first spectra because 2 bromines is there in this case, in second case. So obviously, next is about the splitting. So for A hydrogen, you can see here that for A hydrogen, a doublet is there. A doublet because there is only one hydrogen is at neighboring position, and a triplet, and here it is CH3. So obviously for CH3, for this CH, you will find a quadret there because neighboring hydrogen is 3 in number. So on the basis of that, you can first find the position and then you can find the number of splitted patterns. Now, if we are talking about the intensity, here you can see for A hydrogen, the peak height is more because these two peaks correspond for the 3 hydrogens. So obviously the intensity will be more, whereas these peaks, the peak which is shown for the B is corresponds to only one hydrogen, so obviously the height will be low. Next, if we are going to discuss for CH3, CH2OH, again the same pattern, A, B, C. Here 3 types of hydrogen is there. OH hydrogen is directly attached to a negative group, so it is most shielded, and this signal is for the OH hydrogen. Then the B and then A, and according to that the splitting takes place. In case of first C carbon, there is no splitting because there is no neighboring hydrogen. H is directly attached to O and then O is attached to C. So there is no other hydrogen is there. Obviously, like this, you can also deduce the appearance of the quadret and the triplet. You can also practice the remaining 2. If you find any problem, you can contact me. Coupling constant. The coupling constant is simply the difference expressed in Hertz between two adjacent subpeaks in a split signal. Coupling constant is abbreviated with the capital letter J. So coupling constant is basically the difference between the splitted signals. Like here the signal is splitted into a triplet, and the distance between the two peaks of the triplets is 5.7. The triplet is on 5.76 ppm, and the difference between each signal is 6.1 Hertz. So 6.1 Hertz is coupling constant. Here also the coupling constant is 6.1 Hertz. This is again example of the 1,1,2 trichloroethane. We already discussed that in 1,1,2 trichloroethane, 2 signals are there. Those 2 signals are splitted into doublet and triplet. The triplet occurs at 5.76 ppm and doublet occurs at 3.96 ppm. The difference between the 2 peaks of doublet or the 3 peaks of triplet is known as coupling constant J, and the value of this is 6.1 Hertz. So coupling constant is expressed in Hertz. Coupling constant between protons set on neighboring sp3 hybridized carbon is typically in the region of 6 to 8 Hz. With proton bound to sp2 hybridized carbon, coupling constant can range from 0 Hz, that means there is no coupling at all, to 18 Hz. That means from 0 in case of no coupling to 18 Hz, depending upon the bonding arrangement. So coupling constant can vary according to the hybridization type. In the coupling constant here, it is shown that 3JAB, which is equals to 6.1 Hz. So here the number 3 tells us that this is a 3-bond coupling interaction. The coupling interaction utilizes 3 bonds. Here the first bond is for HB, second bond is HA, and third bond is again for HA. So this is a 3-bond coupling between A and B. That means A type of hydrogen and B type of hydrogen. So by writing superscript and subscript along with J, we can show that the coupling is between which type of hydrogens and between how many bonds. So this is the coupling constant. NMR applications. In case of NMR applications, NMR is very useful to determine the structures of biomacromolecules in aqueous solution. In case of NMR, we can easily elucidate the structure of biomacromolecules, which are large size molecules, and also in aqueous solution there is no need to separate the molecule from the liquid. Second application is molecular dynamics, the most powerful technique for quantifying motional properties of biomacromolecules. NMR is having lots of applications in case of biomacromolecules. Biomacromolecules, that means the molecules which are having large size and biological origin. RNA, DNA, all are example of different type of biomacromolecules, you can say. Protein foldings, to determine the protein foldings, because protein folding is a very big structure, and with the help of NMR we can also determine the protein folding. Ionization state, the most powerful tool for determining the chemical properties of functional groups in biomacromolecules, such as ionization state of ionizable group and active sites of enzymes. So with the help of the NMR, we can easily identify the active sites of enzyme, which is the most important thing to know about the enzyme. Then we can also elucidate the weak intermolecular interactions. Weak intermolecular interactions can be easily checked about by using the NMR spectroscopy, by allowing weak functional interaction between the macromolecules. Protein hydration, again we can easily check the protein hydration by applying the NMR spectroscopy. Next is hydrogen bonding. We can easily differentiate between intermolecular and intramolecular hydrogen bonding, as we have already discussed earlier. Drug screening and design. We can easily screen the different drugs, particularly useful for identifying drug leads and determining the conformations of the compound bound to enzyme receptors and other proteins. So basically, in case of screening of drug, that means that drug will be bind to any biomolecules or not, because it is very important to act by to show action by a drug, that it should bind to the biomacromolecular site. So we can easily check that particular drug is able to bind at that particular site or not. Then native membrane protein. Solid state NMR. NMR is also two types. First, in one case we can use our samples in liquid state. In another, we can use the samples in solid state. So solid state NMR has the potential for determining atomic resolution structure of domains of membrane proteins in their native membrane environment, including those with bond ligands. Metabolite analysis. It is also a very powerful tool for the metabolite analysis, because in case of metabolite analysis, the analysis of macromolecule is very important. Next is chemical analysis. Apart from the biological studies, it is a mature technique for chemical identification also, and by the help of NMR we can easily analyze the conformational differences of the chemicals. Then next is material science. In material science, of course, polymer is a very good tool, because in material science we are using most of the polymers, and polymers are macromolecules. And as we have discussed that NMR is the best technique for elucidations of for different type of elucidations for the macromolecules. So it is very important in material science. Now we have completed all three types of spectroscopy. Let's take a summary, and so that we can easily differentiate between these three. Here electromagnetic spectrum is shown, the different range of the spectrum where different frequencies and different wavelengths. As you can see that the UV visible on higher side, the wavelength is lower and the frequency is higher. And then IR, which is having a medium frequency and medium wavelength, and then radio wavelengths, which is least frequency and maximum wavelength. So as you know that frequency is directly proportional to energy, that means UV radiation is having maximum energy, then infrared, and then radio waves are having low energy. According to their energy, they are able to make changes in the molecules or atoms. So that's why in case of UV or visible spectroscopy, the transition of outermost valence electron takes place directly. It requires large amount of energy, and UV rays are able to make such type of changes. The UV or visible light is utilized in UV spectroscopy and atomic absorption spectroscopy also. Although the atomic absorption spectroscopy is not in your syllabus, so concentrate only on the UV spectroscopy. Then infrared spectroscopy. Infrared spectroscopy is having slightly lower energy as compared to UV visible spectroscopy. So it is able only to vibrate the different bonds of the molecule, and it is utilized for infrared spectroscopy, and these are the applications of infrared spectroscopy which we have already discussed. Then next is radio waves. These are very low energy waves, and these are able only to flip the nuclear spin. So the flipping of nuclear spin requires very low amount of energy, and in that case we can easily use the radio waves. Radio waves are utilized in NMR spectroscopy. This is all for today. Thank you for listening carefully. Now we have completed this unit, that is spectroscopy. In next class we will start another unit, which is organic reaction mechanisms.